Hello and welcome to this improved tone video tutorial. I'm Ali Jennings and I'll be showing you how to improve the tone of a flat image. So here we have our original RAW file opened up within Photoshop Elements, and as you can see it's pretty flat and uninspiring. So what we're going to do is look at a series of adjustments that will really make the most of the tones within the image and also boost the colour so that we end up with a striking image that looks just like this. And here we can really see the detail being pulled out of that sand in the foreground, and also in the contrast in the rocks I've really pulled out the detail of the clouds in the sky as well. So to get started we're going to open our original RAW file within Adobe Camera Raw. So I'll just close these down and open up our RAW file within Adobe Camera Raw. So here's the file open up in ACR. And as we can see, it's got a load of information there in the shadows over on the left hand side, showing in the histogram, and also in the highlights as well we've got quite a nice lot of information as well. I'll just also make sure that I've got my clipping warning switched on, and you can see those in the top left and top right of the histogram window, and you can switch those on and off by just clicking into those little triangles. You know that they're on by either the coloured mask appearing in red over the highlights or blue in the shadows, or by just quickly looking at these triangles and just seeing a little white box just surrounding each of those. So once we've done that, the first thing we're going to do is just to set the white balance. So if we select our white balance tool and just click into an area of neutral tone, and we see our temperature has gone to +5 and we've got a tint of about -2. Just slightly help to warm up the tones within the image. Now that we've done that, we're going to take a look at the basic sliders within the ACR interface, and the first thing we want to do is just to reduce the exposure down to about -0.45. And what that does is it just helps to reduce any of that highlight clipping, so we can now see there's just a very small dot that shows a small fraction of the highlights are being clipped. If we just increase the recovery slider slightly, we'll just see the last of that highlight clipping disappear. Now, just to brighten up those shadows, we'll increase our fill light to +14 and our brightness all the way up to about +47. As we do this, we start to see some of that highlight clipping come back, so I'm just going to boost the recovery just up a little bit more until all of that highlight clipping disappears. So I've taken that up to 86. And what that's also done is just help to draw out a little bit more of the detail in the clouds as well. So with those basic adjustments done in Adobe Camera Raw, I'll just click Open Image to open that directly into Photoshop Elements. Now with the image open, what I want to do is just to really boost that sky first of all. So using the quick selection tool over in the tool palette on the left, shortcut for that is A on your keyboard, I'm just going to quickly click in the sky and drag, and that instantly selects just the sky region. Now if I start to make adjustments straight away, I'll find that I get a very sharp edge along the horizon, so I just want to refine the edge of that selection. So if I click Refine Edge, and I'm going to just adjust the feather slider to 0.5. Here I've also got the smooth slider, at the moment that's 3, I just want to reduce that to 0. And now I'm just going to click OK to confirm that. Now to make those adjustments to the sky, if I go to the new adjustment layer icon and select levels, and as we can see we've got loads of highlight information there, obviously from the clouds in the sky. Just to boost the contrast in the sky, I'm going to increase the shadows to 27. Then I'm going to just reduce the highlights slightly to about 247. And finally, I'm just going to move those mid-tones just to 0.6. And as I start to do that, you start to really see the detail in those clouds. So just click OK to confirm that change. Now that I've tackled the sky, I want to do exactly the same sort of thing for the foreground, and rather than making another selection, what I'll do is use the levels layer we've already created. So if I right click that layer, select duplicate layer, and then just OK. What that's done is applied the same levels adjustment again to the sky, But if I click into the layer mask of that levels layer and then just go Control I, that'll invert the effect of those levels adjustments onto the foreground. Now if I double click, that'll reopen the levels adjustment window, and this time what I want to do is readjust the levels so that I get all of that detail for the foreground. So first thing, move the shadow slider to about 18, so it's just clipping in on the histogram. Now I'm going to take my highlight slider right the way down to 189. And you can really see it brightening up in the foreground there. And I'm going to reset my midtone to 1. Once I'm happy with that, and we can really see the lightness in those rocks coming out now, just click OK to apply that. And by doing that, I've minimised the effect of that sharp, jagged line across the horizon. Now that I've got quite a nice even toned image, I want to flatten those 3 layers down. So if I go into my layer options, select flatten image, and that flattens them down into just the background layer. I now want to tackle the contrast. So if I go up to enhance, adjust lighting and shadows and highlights. And the first thing that I want to do is just to make sure that my light and shadows is taken back down to 0. I'm going to increase my dark and highlights to 10%. And then finally, just to really boost that mid-tone contrast, take the mid-tones up to 15%. If I just click preview off and on, and then you can really see the difference that a slight adjustment in shadows and highlights has made. So I can just click OK. Now to really further enhance that contrast, just create a new levels adjustment layer. Going to clip into those shadows to about 12. Take my highlights down to about 239 and adjust my midtones to about 0.88. Once I'm happy with those, again just click OK. And finally what I want to do is just to start adjusting a few of those colours. So if I click on new adjustment layers, select hue saturation, just want to decrease the saturation to about -20. So we've got a more natural colour to our picture. Just click OK to apply that, and now we're almost finished. So again, I'll just flatten the image down, so with those 2 adjustment layers. And for a final tweak, I'm just going to increase the sharpness of the image. So if we go to Enhance, Adjust Sharpness, select a nice area of the picture which is nice, or should be nice and sharp. We're going to take our amount first of all down to about 60, which is always a good starting point, and just boost my radius to about 1.6. If we just click into the preview and move around, we can just see if we've got a nice balance between the amount and the radius. At 1.6 we're just starting to lose a bit of the detail, and we're starting to get that sort of haloing, so I'm just going to reduce that down a little bit further to about 1. Again, just have a quick check around the image, see if it's all looking okay. And once I'm happy with that, just make sure I've got my more refined button ticked, click OK, just to apply that last bit of sharpening to the picture. Okay, so that's how to very quickly improve the tone of your images.